I'm here with another wonderful French lesson. If you have not checked our previous lessons, I encourage you to do so because that would help you follow what we are doing right now. In lesson 3, we looked at action verbs. Action verbs like manger, to eat, parler, to speak, écouter, to listen, regarder, to look, and many more. And then in lesson 4, we looked at the subjects pronouns je, I, tu, you, il, he, elle, she, nous, we, vous, you. That is two or more people. Il, they, when it's masculine, plural, or I mean masculine as in males only or a mixture of males and females. Even if it's 99 females and 1 male, you use a il, that is a masculine plural. And then we have elle, that is all females who are plural. So for the they, we have il and elle. Right. Now, if we want to use any of the verbs that we looked at in lesson 3, we have to make use of the subject pronouns in lesson 4. Right. So we are going to look at something called conjugation. Conjugation. Conjugation means that we are breaking down a verb to match with the various subjects. If a verb has not been conjugated, we say that the verb is in the infinitive. Okay, so when we say a verb is in the infinitive, it means that the verb has not been broken down to match with any subject. So we have infinitive verbs like the manger that ends with er, finir that ends with ir, vendre that ends with re. Right. Based on this, I'll talk to you about the 3 verb groups. In French, we have 3 verb groups. We have the re verbs, the er verbs, and then the ir verbs. Right. So whenever you want to conjugate a verb in the present tense or in most of the tenses, what you do is to take off the endings, that is the last 2 letters. What you are left with is called the stem. So when you take off the last 2 letters of a verb, what you are left with is the stem. If I take a verb like parler, which ends with er, when I take off the er, the stem is p-a-r-l. If I have a verb like manger, when I take off the er, I'm left with m-a-n-g, which is the stem. Now to the ir verbs. If I have an ir verb like finir, which means to finish, if I take off the ir, the fin is the stem. If I have choisir, to choose, when I take off the ir, the chois is the stem. Then to the re verbs, an example is vendre, to sell. If I take off the re, what I'm left with, that is a vend, is the stem. If I have a verb like attendre, to wait, when I take off the re, what I'm left with is the stem, attend. Right. So this is a general way of knowing how to conjugate a verb in a very, very easy way. You have to find the stem and then you add the tense endings. So today we are looking at the conjugation of er verbs. That is how to form sentences with er verbs. I'm going to start with parler, which means to speak. Now, what we first have to look at is the tense endings for er verbs in the present tense. Okay, so in the present tense, the endings for er verbs, that is when you take the stem, these are the endings that you would have to add based on the subject. So if it's going with je, you will add e to the stem. If it's tu, you add es. Il and elle, we add e to the stem. Nous, we add ons to the stem. Vous, we add ez to the stem. And il and elle plural, we add ent to the stem. So if we want to conjugate parler, I would say je parle, ended with e. That means I speak or I am speaking. Tu parles, ending with es. You speak or you are speaking. Il parle, elle parle. He speaks, she speaks, ending with e. Nous parlons, we speak, ending with ons. Vous parlez, you, 2 or more, speak, ending with EZ. Il, elle parle. Take note, parle. It's not parlant, parle. And then with ENT. So je parle. Je parle français. I speak French. Tu parles anglais. You speak English. Il parle fanti. He speaks fanti. Like that. It's as simple as that. Okay, so as a reminder, whenever you conjugate a verb in the present tense, it refers to something you do or something you are doing. So if I want to say I am speaking, I don't have to say je suis parle. Once I say je parle, it means I speak or I am speaking. All right, so that is it for parler. Let's do a second example, like regarder, to look. Je regarde. Je regarde. And then with E, tu regardes. And then with ES, il, elle regarde. He, she looks. And then with E, nous regardons. And then with O and S, vous regardez. And then with EZ, il, elle regarde. And then with ENT. Now, to GER verbs. GER verbs are conjugated the same way. However, when we get to the nous, we have to introduce an E, the letter E before the ONS. This is because when G is followed by O, it gives a sound go. If it's followed by A, it gives a sound ga. If it's followed by U, it gives a sound g. Right? But if it is followed by E, it gives a sound j. Followed by I, it gives a sound j. What we want is nous mangeons. And because we want nous mangeons, we have to introduce an E before the ONS. So that it becomes je mange, tu manges, il mange, elle mange, nous mangeons, vous mangez, il mange, elle mange. It's as simple as that. All verbs that end with G-E-R, you have to introduce an E before the ONS. And then for verbs that end with C-E-R also, when you get to the nous, you have to put an accent, that is the sudi under it. Okay, because of sound. If O follows a C in French, it will be co. If A follows, it will be ka. If U follows, it will be Q. But if it is followed by E or I, it is S. Right. So when we get to the nous part, we are supposed to add O and S. That would mean it will be nous. For instance, if I take a verb like commencer, commencer to start. Je commence, I start. Tu commences, you start. Il commence, he starts. Elle commence, she starts. Nous commençons. If I don't bring the CD, it will be nous commençons. We don't want nous commençons, we want nous commençons. So I bring the CD so that I can sound it as nous commençons. Then we come to vous commencez and il, elle commence. So the only problem that we have when we get to the GER verbs and the CER verbs, when we get to nous, okay, for the GER you have to bring the E to give the sound J. And for the CER verbs, you have to bring a sudia to give the sound S. Alright, I hope this lesson has been very, very, very helpful. I encourage you to try your hands on all the other verbs that we have in lesson 3 and see what comes out of it. Once you have conjugated the verb like that, you're on your way to forming very, very good sentences, because if a verb is not conjugated, you cannot make meaningful sentences with it. All right, thank you so much for tuning into this channel. Don't forget to come back again another time. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Merci beaucoup. Thank you. À très bientôt. See you very soon. Au revoir.